the topic which I am going to cover is the statin and risk of new onset diabetes mellitus, that is dysglycemia, and I will touch something about the Indian perspective also. Look, for last 2 days we are talking about lots of newer molecules, PCSK9, and and lots of new research were going on the different pathophysiological modalities, and how to tackle those modalities to give a beneficial effect on the morbidity and mortality of the patients. But at the end of the day, we are left with three options: statin, fibrates, and ezetimibe, apart from lifestyle management and exercise. These are the three things which are left with to play with our patients and with ourselves. But the main thing is, whatever we are discussing here, and we'll be discussing here for next 1 day more, if we are not able to translate that discussion on our prescription, we are not able to make our patients adhere to those prescriptions, everything, every exercise is futile. Now, you must be aware of such types of messages being circulated on social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, the latest scam to get you on statin drugs. The statin companies, they are bribing or they are manipulating the recommending authorities, the FDA and the different associations, to make the guidelines more strict to reduce the levels of the cholesterol, so that more and more of the patients are on statins, and there is a nexus between the industry and the doctors to loot the patients. So this type of message is regularly circulating on social medias, and this many a times deters a patient to take a statin. Even the people, the doctors of our medical fraternity, stop taking a statin without consultation. Many of my colleagues, they landed into trouble, they landed into CABG, and later when I asked that, did you stop your statin, he said, yes, I did stop after 2 tests. It was, the levels were within the normal limit, so I stopped it. So this is very, very, very disparate. So the main thing is, so on this issue, a study has been done in the Denmark, that pattern of statin use changes following media coverage of its side effects. So there was in the Denmark, media came out with such negative remarks on the tabloids, and that what was the effect of those negative remarks on the purchase of statin, on the prescription adherence. This was analyzed in a study there. So let us see what was the result of that study. The background was that the media plays a role in shaping opinions about medical decisions. For example, whether to initiate or stop treatment. An association between negative media attention and statin discontinuation has been demonstrated, but it may differ depending on the reason for the prescription and whether the user is new or long term. So they assessed this data on various points of view, that whether the patient who left the drug was a new patient, was an old patient, was having serious problems, and he dropped the drug or not. So on those several factors, they assessed the data, and this was after the Denmark tabloid newspaper BT published on several occasions that there is a negative effects of using statin in July 23, 2008. Now, the aim of this study was to explore whether a Danish newspaper article featuring the side effects of statins affects statin discontinuation in incident versus prevalent users, with the reason for prescription also taken into account. And the method was that they used the Danish registry to gather the prescriptions for, and they gathered the information for those prescriptions, that why the drug was written, for what indication it was written, and the prescriptions they collected was from 2007 to 2008. That is before these news were published in the tabloid, and after the news was published, negative news was published in the tabloid. Now the result was that rate of discontinuation in percentage points between 2007 and 2008. Overall, the rate of discontinuation in percentage point was 5.52. The myocardial infarction patients, the rate was the least. Dropout rate was the least, 1.49. Patients who had potential ASCVD risk, that is a high CVD risk patient, but not having MI or some other problem, it was 7.05. And patients who were having primary hypertension and prescribed statins, their dropout rate was 6.10. So here you can see that Those who had already suffered a major setback in the form of myocardial infarction, they did not leave their drug with such news. So this gives a clear message that डर के आगे statin है. And those who had not suffered any adverse outcomes, morbidity or mortality, I will say not mortality but morbidity, they left the drug more. So now this is a tricky situation that the patient is scratching his head. What should I do? I have got a WhatsApp message that it is a hoax. The cholesterol, you need not reduce your cholesterol. This was all a humbug, and it is all to increase the drug sale. Whom do I trust? My doctor or my WhatsApp message or my Pupaji or my Mausaji or my neighbor who has stopped his statin for last 1 year and he says that he is okay. He has not suffered any problem. What to do? So here comes the major duty of we the clinicians, that we translate this knowledge of guidelines to our patients in a very effective manner so that he may not drop out from the statin therapy if indicated. One other important thing which also comes into place, and specifically amongst the medical fraternity, one of my very senior pathologists at Gorakhpur, he stopped his statin. And when I asked him on a follow-up that why did you stop his statin, he said that I have come across an article which says that statin induces diabetes. So I am dyslipidemic, I am hypertensive, but I will also get diabetes, so I have stopped it. So this is also a very important limiting factor amongst those who are reading literatures, who are in the medical field, that they stop statin. So let us see and explore what is the risk of developing new onset diabetes mellitus. And this is a meta-analysis of placebo-controlled statin trials. And you will see that the Scott LLA trial with the atorvastatin, the odd ratio is 1.14. That is 14%. Simvastatin 1.15, 4S 1.03. Rosuvastatin, it was the highest, 1.26. And it was basically after the publication of this Jupiter trial, this NODM was more talked about, that statin causes new onset diabetes. And if you see for the pravastatin and lovastatin, it is below 1, 0.79 and 0.98. So, and there is also a correlation between the incident diabetes and CVD with the high intensity statin therapy. Means if you increase the dose of statin, the chances of getting new onset diabetes mellitus is more. So in atorvastatin 80 milligram, the incident diabetes was 1.15. In simvastatin 80 milligram, it was 1.12. But if you see for the incident CVD, it was 0.78 and 0.84. So though the incident diabetes was increased above 1, the incident CVD was much below 1. So there was a benefit of roughly of 22% to 15% for the CVD events. So the CVD benefit outweighs the risk of new onset diabetes mellitus. Now again come to the previous slide, and here you will see that for one extra case of NODM among 1,000 people, statins prevent 5 to 7 first CV event. So this is very important, and this should be talked about, that even if your blood sugar is bit raised, your HbA1c goes 0.2 or 0.3% higher with moderate to high intensity statin therapy, then even then you gain a benefit out of statin therapy, which is much more than the risk of getting a little bit of dyslipidemia, which can be taken care of by changing the dose of your anti-hyperglycemic drugs. Regarding the Indian context, I searched the literature, but I could not found any head-to-head trial or any study regarding the new onset diabetes mellitus in diabetes patients using the statin. But there are several review articles on statin, and in the Indian perspective, one article I am sharing with you all, and this says that we the Indians and the South Asians, we are a different people. We have got different genetic background, and we all know this. I need not reiterate again and again that we are more prone to myocardial infarction, 5-fold more prone to the Caucasians. We get the coronary artery disease at least 10 years before our Caucasian counterpart. We have been talking about high atherogenic small dense LDL. The Asian population is more prone for atherogenic small dense LDL. We have got more metabolic syndrome and atherogenic dyslipidemia and elevated prothrombotic and pro-inflammatory markers. So we need more use of statin as compared to our Caucasian counterpart, and a more earlier use, at least 10 years earlier than our Caucasian parts. One thing which has been talked about by Dr. Ashish also, that in Indian patients, the pharmacokinetics is somewhat different, and the Indian patients, they achieve a higher level of circulating statin compared to Caucasian population when administered the equivalent doses. So a study conducted in Singapore has revealed that Asian Indians achieve 1.68 times the plasma level of rosuvastatin when compared to Caucasian population. So that is why he also said that in the nephrology patients also, we need a little bit lower dose of statin as compared to the Caucasian counterpart. And this we should take into consideration while treating our Indian patients, that the severe or the moderate intensity of statin, which is for the Caucasian, will be a little bit lower for our Asian population. So how could statins impair glucose and insulin metabolism? Why they cause new onset diabetes mellitus? There are two ways by which they can cause this dysglycemia. Number one is by increasing the insulin resistance, and number two is by decreasing the insulin secretion from the beta cell function, from the beta cell. So what are the mechanisms which cause increased insulin resistance? Number one, decreased adipocyte maturation. And when the adipocytes are not mature, they will have less lipid storing capacity. So there will be spillover of lipids from the adipocytes. Number two is the HMG-CR decrease in adipose, leading to decreased isoprenoids, decrease in GLUT4, and decreased glucose uptake by the adipose tissue. Then decrease in adipose SLC2A4 and C/E BP alpha, which will cause decreased glucose uptake by the adipocytes, and decreased muscle AKT FOXO signaling. And this decreased AKT FOXO signaling in muscle will lead to decreased glucose uptake by the muscles, causing insulin resistance at the muscular level. So this will cause increase in the blood sugar. On the other hand, what happens to the beta cell? We all know that the beta cells, they release the insulin once the glucose enters into the beta cell through GLUT2 transporting pathway. So in the beta cells, the GLUT2 transporting pathway is down-regulated, leading to decreased glucose uptake by the beta cells. And when the glucose uptake by the beta cell is low, then the release of the insulin is also decreased from the beta cells. There is decrease in HMG-CR in beta cells, leading to increased LDL uptake by the beta cells, leading to paradoxical increased cholesterol in the beta cells and leading the lipotoxicity to the beta cell and causing beta cell damage. Third is the decreased HMG-CR in beta cells causes decreased ubiquinone, decreased mitochondrial function, and decrease in the ATP and decrease in insulin secretion. So by increasing insulin resistance on the one hand, and by decreasing the insulin release by the beta cell, the statins could impair the glucose metabolism and cause hyperglycemia. But do all the people or the persons or all the patients are the same risk for developing new onset diabetes mellitus? No, there are certain markers by which we can ascertain that these are the individuals where we are to be cautious and we have to observe these patients in the follow-up for new onset diabetes mellitus. The markers are, number one, modest increase in risk of NODM with predisposing factors like BMI more than 30, fasting more than 100, metabolic syndrome, HbA1c more than 6, and high intensity statin therapy. Means if a person is having metabolic syndrome, visceral adiposity, waist circumference is more, he is having pre-diabetes, or is instituted on high intensity statin therapy, these are the individuals who are more prone to develop new onset diabetes mellitus. What does the AHA-ACC guideline recommends in 2018? That in patients indicated for a statin therapy, identify potential predisposing factors to statin associated side effects, including NODM. Continue statin therapy in patients with increased diabetes mellitus risk or NODM, with emphasis on adherence, net clinical benefit, moderate intensity physical activity, healthy dietary pattern, and sustaining weight loss. So inform patients of the possibility of diabetes mellitus but it should not be a contraindication or reason for a statin discontinuation. So if your patient is drug naive, newly diagnosed, or a metabolic syndrome patient having dyslipidemia, hypertension, then in these patients, you need to start with a low dose of a statin, observe this patient in the follow-up for NODM. And you also have choice to choose amongst the statins and try to choose a statin which has got the least propensity to develop NODM, which we will be talking about in the subsequent slides. So the risk of new onset diabetes with the statin also increases with the age. This is also very important. And here you will see that in the Voskov's trial, the age was 55 on the top, the risk is the lowest. And as you go on the other trials where the age is 65, 63, 66, you will see that the pointer is much more to the right of the hazard ratio of odd ratio of 1. So as the age increases, the chances of getting new onset diabetes also increases, and specifically if that individual has been put on moderate to high intensity statin therapy. There is an additive effect of fasting glucose and statin intensity. I have already said that if the fasting glucose is in the pre-diabetes range, and if you are using a high intensity therapy in these patients, the chances of getting new onset diabetes is increased. You can just see that if there is no ranges of incident diabetes, if there is no statin, it is 3 moderate intensity, statin 3 high intensity 5. But once the plasma glucose fasting reaches to the pre-diabetes level 100 to 125, this incidence goes from 3 to 16, 3 to 26, and from 5 to 38. So if your patient is having impaired fasting glucose or is a pre-diabetic and you are using a high intensity, be aware that you will have to look for new onset diabetes in subsequent follow-up, and you will have to be vigilant. Slide is so the other thing now, the issue is statin induced NODT. Is it a class effect? Do all the statins have the same propensity to cause statin induced NODT? Let us see here. This for developing type 2 diabetes mellitus is different among statins. It is not a class effect. And you will see in this slide that amongst all the statins, Aturva, Simva, Rosuva, Prava, Lova, and Pitava. In India, we are using Aturva, Simva, very less we are using Rosuva. The other sort which we are frequently using is Rosuva, Aturva, Rosuva, and then Pitava is also not that frequently used. But you will see that the Pitava statin in this study, published in Lancet 2010, is negative for hazard ratio. It is only 0.70, while Aturva is 1.14, Simva 1.11, Rosuva 1.18. In Jupiter, they showed it 1.23 for Rosuva statin. So all the statins are not the same. And this is a meta-analysis of placebo-controlled study. Again, the same slide I am again sharing. And here you will see that for Jupiter, it was 1.26, which I have told. And for Pravastatin, it was 0.98 to 0.18, 1.07. So Pravastatin and Pitavastatin, these are the two statins which are neutral for new onset diabetes mellitus. Pravastatin was the first generation statin which was used in the late 80s and early 90s, and Pitavastatin is the third generation statin along with Rosuvastatin. Now I will focus on some slides on Pitavastatin. Pitavastatin short-term head-to-head statin trial. What the knowledge we have gained with this trials, Pitava versus Atorvastatin or Rosuvastatin. There are two trials, the Saku et al. And Gumpresh et al. And both the trials are a short duration, 16-week and 12-week, and they infer that there is a comparable LDL-C reduction with Pitavastatin as compared to Atorva or Rosuva, but no change in HbA1c or fasting blood glucose. So they are dysglycemia neutral. Pitavastatin versus Pravastatin. So greater LDL-C reduction as compared to Pravastatin, it is a more potent, and the comparable lack of changes in the HbA1c or fasting blood sugar. So Prava also does not change the fasting blood sugar or the HbA1c, but it is a weaker agent as compared to pitavastatin. So pitavastatin has neutral effect on fasting blood glucose across dose range, whether 1 milligram, 2 milligram, 4 milligram, or 8 milligram. Across all the dose range, it was seen that it is neutral. So if you need to use a high dose statin therapy, you can use pitavastatin even in the high dose without being worried about new onset diabetes mellitus or derangement in the glycemic control. This is very important. So all statins are not the same. This is the interpreted study, impact of pitavastatin and pravastatin on mean fasting glucose and HbA1c. It was a double-blind active control phase 4 trial in which adults aged 18 to 70 years with dyslipidemia and controlled HIV. These were the patients of HIV on antiretroviral therapy were randomly assigned to pitavastatin 4 milligram or pravastatin 40 milligram, and they both showed that both the drugs, the fasting blood sugar remained the same from 5.3 to 5.3 and from 5.5 to 5.5. So they both the drugs, they did not alter the glycemic control. Should metabolic pathway, that is how the statin is being metabolized in the body, be also a consideration? Yes, it should. We should take into consideration that a particular statin, how it is being metabolized in the body in a particular patient, especially in patients on multiple drugs and in the older patients. We all know that in the older patients, they have got many other comorbidities and they are on poly drugs. So chances of drug and drug interaction is 50% or more. So one should always try to use a statin which is not metabolized through CYP3A4, because many of the drugs are also metabolized by the same pathway in the liver, and this can alter the level of statin and cause side effects. So, and the older patients have got increased CVD risk, they have got decreased physiological process, including renal and liver function. So when you are planning to use high dose statin therapy, be careful in the older patients because of their metabolic compromised status. So older patients on multiple drugs should be regularly re-evaluated for the risk of drug-drug interaction. So I have already said that it is the main metabolic pathway CYP3A4 for atorvastatin, for fluvastatin, for lovastatin. It is only for the prava and rosuva and pitavastatin. Rosuvastatin is excreted mainly through the bile through glucuronidation. Pravastatin is through sulfonation, and it is not interfering with the drugs. And pitava also is biliary excretion and through glucuronidation. So these drugs, they do not cause drug-drug interaction. The pitava and the rosuva. Rosuva is a hydrophilic statin, while atorva is a lipophilic statin. So this should be taken into consideration, and you will see that some common drugs which are being used in comorbid conditions like erythromycin, clarithromycin, they affect the CYP pathway, and the atorvastatin levels are raised 1.5 to 5-fold higher. So one has to be cautious when using atorvastatin along with erythromycin and clarithromycin. Effect of verapamil and diltiazem is questionable. You will just see here that pitava and prava, they are neutral for either erythromycin, clarithromycin, verapamil, or diltiazem. Simvastatin, again, the levels are increased. Rosuvastatin is also neutral. So this also should be taken into consideration while prescribing a statin. Now I'm going to share a experimental study on human beings on the effect of pitavastatin on insulin sensitivity and hepatic fat. So this study was a randomized double-blind physiology study to assess the effect of pitavastatin on insulin sensitivity, liver fat in high-risk population. So they enrolled 50 overweight insulin-resistant men who were not taking statin for last 1 year, and they put them on pitavastatin 4 milligram daily and placebo. The inclusion criteria was men aged 40 to 65, BMI 27, waist circumference 102, fasting 100 to 126, 2-hour OGTT 140 to 200, 10-year ASCVD risk more than 5, and LDL cholesterol more than 100. So these are all the criteria which we have already seen, which makes a person predisposed or prone to develop NODT put on statin. So they took the same criteria and they used pitavastatin for 6 months, and they did repeated hyperinsulinemic euglycemic clamp study, and they did MRI to assess the liver fat. So out of the three things to assess insulin sensitivity, that is glucose tolerance test, fasting blood sugar, HbA1c, and euglycemic hyperinsulinemic clamp, they use the euglycemic hyperinsulinemic clamp, which is a gold standard for the research purpose, to be more sure about the outcome. So in this experimental study, the euglycemic hyperinsulinemic clamp was used. For hepatic fat, they used magnetic resonance imaging. Patient selection I've already talked about. What was the overall result of clamp study? So in the clamp study, they used low dose insulin clamp study and high dose insulin clamp study. Low dose insulin clamp study is done to assess the insulin sensitivity of the liver, and a high dose is used to assess the insulin sensitivity of the muscles. So they did both sensitivity, the low dose and the high dose, to assess the hepatic insulin sensitivity and the high dose for the muscular insulin sensitivity. And treatment with pitavastatin did not impact the insulin sensitivity either at a low dose or at a high dose. This was the first inference of this experimental study of 6 months. Result of fat, liver fat. Treatment with pitavastatin did not reduce liver fat as measured on MRI spectroscopy, including a subset of patients with more than 5% hepatic fat fraction at baseline. So no effect on liver fat and no effect on insulin sensitivity either at the liver level or at the musculature level. So this was very important outcome of this experimental study on human being. So NODT is not a class effect. We have seen statins have different potentials for NODT. Sorry, the light has gone, so it has become dark. You will not be able to see me, but the slides are visible, I hope.
Yes.
So statins have different potentials for NODT drug-drug interaction. The statins have potential for NODT, do it in dose-dependent manner. So what is the take-home message? The take-home message is, for a layman, you can teach the layman the guidelines in their language. You will have to come down to their IQ level and talk to them in their level. So I tell my patients that, look, if your cholesterol level, the lipid profile level is coming normal for last 2 or 3 tests, it doesn't mean that you will stop it. Do you stop putting the seat belt, or do you stop putting the helmet if you have not met an accident for last 1 year? If you stop it, then your risk becomes the same as it was before 1 year when you are not wearing the helmet or not putting on your seat belt. So statin is just like a seat belt in your life, or a helmet, to prevent you, give you extra protection from any accidental CV event or cerebral event or peripheral vascular event. So keep on wearing that helmet to drive safely throughout your life and sail throughout your life. And this can be done on a mass education program during various public platforms, so that, and talk to the patients in your clinic also, so that they do not drop out the statin once 1 or 2 reports come normal. And be cautious in a drug naive patient who is metabolically obese, who is having pre-diabetes, to use a molecule which is dysglycemia neutral. And if you are using a high dose intensity statin therapy, be cautious to observe your patient in a follow-up for NODT. So further recommended areas of research for lipid management in Indians, because there is paucity of literature in Indian subset of population, is that pharmacokinetic studies of statin in Indian population should be done. Pharmacogenomic study for prevalence of SLCO1B gene variant in Indian population should be done. Adverse events data of patients already on high intensity statin, large studies on applicability of cardiovascular risk calculations to Indian. I think that we should all start make an habit of using ASCVD risk factor scoring QRIS2 by downloading it on our mobile through Play Store in all our patients to assess whether he needs a low dose, moderate dose, or high dose of statin therapy. We should make use of this ASCVD risk calculator in our routine practice. So in conclusion, the statins reduce their severity risk in primary and secondary prevention, including primary and secondary prevention among patients with diabetes mellitus. Clinical trials data would not support the risk of NODM as a class effect. Clinical trials do not support that pravastatin or pitavastatin increase glucose level. Pitavastatin studied over 6 months via euglycemic hyperinsulinic clamp did not affect endogenous glucose production, insulin stimulated glucose uptake or liver fat. So thank you very much. Thank you.